Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. If you load up your vehicle or if you tow or if you're planning to tow, you really need to watch this video and more to the point, listen very carefully. It is important to keep it safe and legal, but there's some considerations you need to think about that a lot of other people that are sharing information aren't really telling you about. Their focus is more on selling you suspension and other components. Some people tell you you'll be driving around illegally and you won't be covered by insurance and you will be charged if you do this. Now, there's a number of considerations that may or may not be true. You need to obviously check the fine print and the grey areas and check with your lawyer. But let's go through a few things using a bit of common sense and nut it out and try and help explain why it's not just about the suspension in making a decision whether you should take what load or what modifications you do to the vehicle for a upgrade of, let's talk about a few different terms. Like they always talk about GVM exciting, and GCM and ATM and tow ball download and payload. We're not going to go into these sorts of things in too much detail. That's what everybody else does. GVM, pretty simple. That's the lot. That's the total. It stands for gross vehicle mass. That's the vehicle fully loaded, the maximum it's allowed to be. GCM, that's the combination with the trailer. And the ATM, that's basically the trailer, aggregate trailer mass, but that's the total for the trailer, fully loaded with all water and everything. Tow ball download is usually, most tow bars have got, as far as I've ever seen, the tow ball download is not allowed to exceed more than 10% of the total you're allowed to tow with that tow bar. So for example, with the Prado pictured here, you're allowed to tow 2.5 tonne. That would mean you're not allowed to have more than 250 kilos download. You'll see a label on the tow bar or on the vehicle, on the door somewhere that's been stuck on that will confirm those figures. That's what I've noticed. It's always no more than 10%. So the first important thing is it doesn't need to be 10%. So it's not your target. It's not about 10%. It's got to be 10%. It can be dangerous not having enough tow ball download. We'll have a quick talk about that. But I just wanted to say, and of course your payload is what you're loading into the vehicle, and that will possibly combine with the tow ball download, because it ends up being weight on the vehicle. So it's, on one hand, it's really easy and it's really simple, but I don't really want to sort of discuss too much about which loads what. I figure most people have got that figured out, but we just covered it quickly anyway. The most important thing is a bit of common sense. So let me give you an example. So you've got to think about first, why does the vehicle manufacturer put a limit? Let's go to the gross vehicle mass, right? So this vehicle pictured once again, 2,900 kilos is the maximum, fully loaded with all the people and fuel and anything you want to carry, roof racks, accessories, heavier tyres, whatever it might be. 2,900 kilos is the maximum they said that's allowed to be. But they also said you can tow up to 2.5 tonne. So if you add the two together, you're looking at over 5 tonne. What's that, 5.4 with a quick mathematics, if I can add up still? So 5.4 tonne. Quick question, is that dangerous? I don't know. I haven't really got the answer for you. Depends who's behind the wheel and how well the vehicle's been set up, and that's why we're going to talk about it. What makes more sense to you? What's safer? If this vehicle was 3 tonne, so 100 kilos overloaded, and it was towing 2 tonne? Well, how about this one? How about it's not towing? We're not towing here at all whatsoever. What's safer? This vehicle loaded to 3 tonne, so 100 kilos over, or this vehicle at 2,900 kilos, but towing 2.5 tonne? It seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? So this is where the rules, I think, are a little bit, rules are rules, but people saying that if you do that, if you go 1 kilo over, you will be charged and you won't be covered by your insurance. Look, I think it's going a bit overboard, to be quite honest. Firstly, it would depend what modifications and where the vehicle was loaded, if it even made it dangerous, because quite simply, if you've still got the same brakes on the vehicle, even though a trailer has brakes, you could be towing a trailer of up to 750 kilos without any brakes, because that's legal, okay? And I don't think there's a problem with that. So what's safer? Let me put it to you that way. What's safer? This vehicle, this Prado, loaded up to 3 tonne, 100 kilos over, or 2,900 kilos with a 750 kilo trailer, no brakes? What's safer? again, pretty obvious. The vehicle is going to handle better without a trailer. It's going to stop quicker. You've still got 750 kilos of weight pushing along, and when you need to come to a stop, you've still got the same brakes and tyres. So I would personally like to implement some common sense, and perhaps they should allow, without too much fuss, a little bit over the jet, because it is, I'll tell you, it's super easy. Everybody's over their GVM, right? You know, let's get serious here, right? So you've put heavier suspension, so aftermarket suspension is heavier. You've put all-terrain tyres, those heavy-duty tyres, they are much heavier. You've got a bull bar, you've got brush bars, you've got light bars, you've got spotlights, you've got antennas, radios, you've got extra batteries, you've got UHFs, you've got snorkels, you've got roof racks, you've got awnings, you've got water, you're full of fuel, like, you know, fuel's there anyway, but it still adds to the vehicle mass, okay? So all these things add, and I haven't even continued on, there's so much more heavy-duty side steps, underbody protection, you know, if you can easily add hundreds of kilos, even on a vehicle where you say travel light. And this is what I'm trying to say, travel light. Think about every single accessory if you can get away without it, because you're just paying money for crap a lot of the time, and it's just going to make you more illegal. You're going to carry more weight around. It's going to make the vehicle less reliable, and you know, I know what you're going to get for it. So really think about what you need. So you can easily add, say you've got this vehicle here, I can't remember what a 120 was stock out of the box. What are they? 2.2 tonne, pretty light, yeah? But by the time you do a few modifications, you're going to be 2.4 tonne. Even without a bull bar, you might put a storage system, a fridge, a roof rack, just a few things for touring like that. You can easily add a couple hundred kilos. Then if you want to have, say you've got an average size family of 4, I know people have got bigger families, but in the Prado, I've got to say, if you've got more than about 3 kids, you need something else, because you can't really fit the kids in the back. And you know, and fit stuff in the car. I suppose that's when you are carrying a trailer. I suppose this video, it's a little bit about, to start off with at least, to get people thinking, you know, what's safer? Firstly, if you put all the extra weight on the roof, that's what's going to reduce the handling and the safety of the vehicle, okay? So that's an important thing to consider. If you're adding the weight down low, for example, you've got underbody protection, you've got fuel tank guards, you've got heavy duty side steps, you've got heavy tyres. Even though the vehicle's heavier, those tyres and wheels, that's unsprung weight, right? So it's sort of, as much as it helps use more fuel, it's a little bit slower to get going, it's a little bit more weight to turn, so, and it's a little bit the braking won't be as efficient as a lighter tyre, because the tyre's heavier, believe it or not. Same as if you put big tyres, you've kind of geared it up. You put bigger tyres, so don't put bigger tyres. If you're going to go and heavily load your four-wheel drive, and you're going to do heavy towing, the last thing you really want to do is put bigger tyres, because it's just decreased your braking efficiency and performance also. Don't put smaller tyres either. You just want to keep the right size tyres, is my advice. But one of the points I'm trying to make is, the vehicle, even if this was 3.1 tonne, 200 kilos over, if most of the weight's down low and loaded correctly, center and low as possible to the vehicle, not like 100 kilos of water on the roof type thing, that would be silly. All your light things you want to put on the roof, you know, your swags, you know, all the bulky stuff that's light, think that way. Get your heavy stuff down, get it forward. You don't want to put it too far up the back of the vehicle up here. If you've got anything, water, the best place for it is, if you can, in that back, that middle row seat area, in the back, I'll call it the back, because the back here, this is the storage area, this is the front, this is the back, and this is the storage area, right? So your water best place really is as far forward and down low, because you want the weight between, so you've got your wheels here, right? Yeah, you like that, right? You want to have your weight center and in between, not, you know, back behind, putting all the weight on the back axle. So that's the next thing. Not a lot of the weight does go onto the back axle. So you've got to be careful when setting up your trailer that you don't end up having too much weight at the front of the trailer, or you're adding a stack of tow ball down weight, which you don't need. We sort of mentioned that at the start. Some people seem to think that you need to have 10%. I'm towing 2.5 tonne, I need 250 kilos. Well, it's actually not right. It's quite safe and probably better if you had around about 100 kilos. So it is important that you don't have not enough, because that's where you're going to get the sways up. You need tow ball download, you need weight on the tow ball. you see some of these vehicles, they're set up and they're just like popping monos like this, you know, the front here is like, whoa, like this, and the back, it's like pretty well squashed down. That is just way too much weight. That's what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you some average numbers here. If you look at the vehicle and it just doesn't look right, it is probably not set up right. Now you can get those load spreading device, I don't know, load distribution hitch, whatever it's called. I don't really like them, okay? It might make things look good and sort of help spread the load by levering the back of the vehicle up and the weight to the front, and they may help, but the thing is, it puts a lot of load on other things, and look, I just don't like it. It's a band-aid fix trying to hide a problem. It needs to be set up right. So, first thing I'm trying to say is, if you've got your vehicle full to the maximum weight, don't weigh that and then go, now I've weighed my caravan and whatever, because when you hook it on, you've got to add that weight from what's going to go onto your tow ball, that extra 100, 150, 200 to your, that adds to your vehicle. So your vehicle's then gone over. Now, in the event of a big bingle, and you know, touch wood, hopefully drive safe and it doesn't happen. But to be quite honest, if you've got a four-wheel drive and you're in a big bingle where there's a big investigation, it's probably pretty serious, and the car's gone flying down the road and all the gears ripped off the car and gone flying everywhere. It's unlikely that they're going to be able to gather every single all the bits and pieces and weigh it all up and go, oh, that, you know, that would have been 3.010, you know, 3.01, you know, 3,010 kilos. So that's it. He's got no insurance, and we're going to charge him and whatever. He's so dangerous. He was 100. I just couldn't imagine that happening. That'd be just stupid. But things are kind of headed that way, though, aren't they? Yeah. But look, I haven't heard of that happening. I don't believe they'd be able to gather all the bits and pieces and worry about it that much. I could be wrong. So, you know, each to their own. You can put in the comments what you think, but I just don't really see them spending that much time on gathering up all the bits and pieces, all the nuts and bolts and all the parts that went flying off. I just couldn't imagine that, and it's quite obvious that this vehicle at 3 tonne, for example, would be a lot safer than it at 2.9 tonne with 2.5 tonne behind it. So I wouldn't be too concerned if you're a little bit over, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's legal, so you get your legal advice on that and work out. You can talk to your insurance, whatever you want to do. I know a lot of people want to make sure they're compliant, but a lot of people panic about these things. And then the first thing they're told, they need to do a GVM upgrade. So we finally got to the point, some way into the video, and this is the problem. GVM upgrade doesn't really solve the problem. Now, if you've got a GVM up, say you've got a new Toyota Prado and it's got 2,990 GVM, awesome, and you've gone and done a few mods and you put the family and load it up, mate, you're gonna be over, right? It's just as simple as that. You're gonna be over. That's how these things work. And some vehicles are better than others for payload. So what do? Yeah, you Google it and somebody said, you need to get a Lovell's GVM upgrade or a Dobinson's GVM upgrade or a King's or whoever does it. I couldn't give a stuff, to be quite honest. And what you do, you get out there and you do your GVM up, you spend all this money on suspension, and it might not be the best setup either, and you go and get your tag somewhere. Is your insurance really gonna, you know, recognise that because you've had a suspension upgrade and someone said so? I reckon, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how well that would hold up. I don't think that'd hold up any better than the no GVM upgrade argument, you know, the 100 kilos we were talking about. Doesn't sound too exciting to me, because whoever said it's the suspension, right? We talked about it earlier. You put the caravan on, you've got all that extra weight pushing behind. Yeah, you got trailer brakes. You might have a single axle with brakes. You might have dual axles. You might have brakes on one. Or who knows what you're going to have, right? But if you've got a tyre there, you might as well have brakes on it, because there's no point having dual axles and only brakes on one axle, because you can only apply a certain amount of force to each tyre before it locks up. And by having brakes on all 4 on your trailer, it's going to work better and stop better and therefore make it safer. And it's not all about stopping, but my point is, if you've got all that weight pushing it along down the road, then why isn't it a brake upgrade instead of a suspension upgrade? You know, who said suspension upgrade? What, because the vehicle's low? What does that matter? And, you know, who said that the suspension is why the manufacturer said that that's the limit? No, I'm telling you, it's probably not. Okay, I can't tell you because I didn't talk to the manufacturers and ask them why. But common sense again, use common sense. Why did they do that? Well, it'll be a combination of things. Okay, so the whole handling characteristic characteristics of the vehicle change when you add bull bars and side steps and underbody protection, different types of tyres, heavier tyres, different suspension, all this sort of thing. And by going up and heavy duty, it might make it look better, but does it really handle better? If your trailer was set up correctly so you weren't overloading your tow ball, there's a bloody good chance it was safer without a GVM upgrade, without a suspension upgrade, because less is more, right? Center of gravity, keep it down. This is why it's important, because if you're a caravaner, and look, I don't know, who hung around to watch this? Who's going to find this video? I hope somebody finds this video, and at some point they might have been going, oh, this guy craps on, but hopefully they stuck around and they listened. So I'm going to have to come up with a title that hopefully gets people to listen to the end for this one. But I hope you're sort of with me here, right? By raising the vehicle up, you know, then it's more body, it's not as safe. So if you've got a trailer, you're trying to control this big, so okay, let's go the other way. This is a stock standard Prado, 2.2 tonne. I've got no extra accessories in the vehicle. Let's go one better, right? Let's go, I've got a brand new 2021 Prado GX out of the box. It's still only about 2.2 tonnes, something like that. It's might be a bit more, but it's something like that. They're not very heavy. I'm talking that won't be full of fuel. That'll be, I've got my Prado, I've got 20 litres of fuel in it, I've got me in it. The whole thing weighs about 2.3 tonne, and I can do 3 tonne towing. So I've got a 3 tonne caravan or a 3 tonne boat, and I'm towing it with 2.3 tonne. Who do you think's in control? Do you think that car's really in control of that 3 tonne caravan and boat? Or do you think the let me put it to you this way, is it the dog wagging the tail or the tail wagging the dog, right? If the tail's bigger than the dog, right? You know, I think the dog's the one getting wagged, mate, the tail's in control. So hopefully I'm painting a picture for you here. I know it's a bit of a long one and we've gone through a few things and I'm not going to get it right. I haven't planned it that well. I didn't plan it. I just talk, see, blah, blah, blah. But I understand what I'm trying to explain to you, and I'm just trying to get better at it and trying to explain it to you better. So I think we've established that by having more heavy duty suspension, not only does it not help make the vehicle safer, sometimes, depending on the setup, again, depends on the actual vehicle, the actual caravan, the actual weight, single axle, dual axle, tow ball download, how much weight's in the vehicle. There's so many variables, and that's why you need to think outside the square, because you need to work out what's going to work for you, okay? So don't get a suspension upgrade off anyone because they said you need one for a GVM upgrade. Toyota didn't say, look, you upgrade the suspension, mate, you can tow 3.5 tonne. They didn't say that. No, they didn't, right? So, you know, you've got other things to think about. We already talked about the brakes. The brakes are in here. Nothing's changed, right? You've still got the same brakes. You got a GVM upgrade, so now you can tow 3 tonne with your Prado or 3.5 tonne, whatever. So you've got 6 tonne rolling down the road. What, with the same brakes? Same brakes here? How's that safe? Are you sure Toyota didn't say that that's the limits they've set out because that's what these brakes can handle because of that weight? Those brakes under that load coming down that hill for that long at that speed, then eventually you get brake fade and you got nothing, because that's how it works, right? The brakes get hot, it all starts here. It transfers through the brakes, the calipers, the pads, into the brake fluid. The brake fluid will eventually boil, I absolutely guarantee it. It's got a boiling point. But you know what? It's been that long since I've said it, I just about forget. What's brake fluid? About 260, 280 degrees, maybe more. You can get different brake fluid. Some's better, some's worse. As it gets older, it's hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture. So over time, every day, every week, every month from new, that brake fluid is losing its boiling point. So it could have a boiling point of 150 or 200 degrees. What does that mean for your GVM upgrade? Yeah, good luck, mate. I'm telling you now, the best GVM upgrade could be getting your brake fluid changed every 6 months. Did you think about that? Anyway, very important keeping that brake fluid fresh. It's meant to be every 2 years, every 40,000 is the schedule with Toyotas. Hope we're getting somewhere here. Now, tyres. So I've got my Prado or I've got my 200 series and I'm going off-road and I need some big tyres so that I can get into those ruts with everybody else that's been in there with 35s, right? No, you don't. You just don't go onto that crap. You don't go there when it's wet. You go when it's dry. You sit up on top of the ruts and you go, mate, you know, thanks for wrecking the tracks for us or whatever. And you find your way around. It makes it a bit more fun anyway. Your standard size tyres do the job. 31s are good, 32s are all right. Stick with your standard size tyre. As soon as you change this tyre here from that size to that size, it's so much bigger. You're making your brake, I can't explain it to you in words, but your brakes are working harder. Standard size tyres are going to work better. Now, What about bearings? What about these wheel bearings? You know, in here there's a bearing, and there's a bearing in the back here as well. Do you reckon Toyota, or whoever the manufacturer is, Mitsubishi, Mazda, I don't care what vehicle, do you reckon they might have done some homework and done some load testing over a certain period of time? You know, I'm sure they've got a lot of testing setups, and do you reckon they might have put, you know, these bearings to the test? So, you know, by adding all this extra weight, that's why we talked about it earlier. See, when you add the load in the vehicle, just look at there's a reason why we've got this picture here, right? What's here? This is the engine. Nothing's changing. The bull bar goes on a little bit, weight goes there. No big deal. That's lighter than a person sitting in the front here, right? People sitting in the front, that puts load over the front and the back. People sitting in the back, that puts load mainly over the back, and the gear in the back more at the back, and then the trailer on the back more at the back. See what's going on? Really lighter, heavy weight here. Do you reckon you might have some problems with these wheel bearings? Do you think you might have a problem with the diff housing getting bent, perhaps? Especially if you're on rough corrugated roads and you hit a pothole. What's the chances that you've got an overloaded Prado with a big heavy trailer with a drawbar? And I'm sure heaps of people do this and don't have any problems. So it just goes to show how tough they are. So stuff your GVM upgrade. Look, you can do whatever you want, but I'm just trying to point out that it doesn't make sense. It's just a cha-ching, cha-ching. You need a GVM upgrade, you put your suspension in, cha-ching, cha-ching, some more money for someone else to tick the boxes. If that's what you want to tick, go ahead and tick it. But like I said, I really don't think that anybody's out there with a dustpan picking up all the nuts and bolts and the glass and what's left. Worst case scenario, they're going to drag the vehicle away by it is, pick up a couple of things, and it's going to be under, unless you've got, like, 600 kilos of overweight. Like, I don't know how you could do that. I'll tell you quite honestly, right? When you load up a vehicle like a 120 Prado, pretty heavily loaded, and I mean full, and the roof fairly well loaded, you're going to be about 200 kilos over, maybe more, right? We're talking about percentage-wise. Let's bring it back to a 3-ton vehicle, 200 kilos. What's that? Less than 5%? 3%? It's 3%, isn't it? Hang on, let me do. I don't know. Look, shouldn't be that hard to work out, would it? But I can't think at the moment. So you can put that in the comments as well. If you're 200 kilos over at 3 tons, so instead of being 2.9, you're 3.1, you're whatever percentage over, right? It's not a big deal. It's still a lot safer than towing a trailer that's 2 or 2.5 ton. Towing a 2-ton trailer is dangerous, especially if you don't know how to drive. If you haven't got good reactions, quick reactions, you're not allowing all the extra distance that you should be, right? So just trying to get you thinking. I think we pretty well covered it. We had another video like this talking about this. I don't know if I've just waffled on about the same stuff over again, or I've done a better job and covered a few other things. Like I said, who said Toyota said it's the suspension? Did Vic Roads or Queensland Transport or some other, did they say it's suspension? Or what, the engineer said it's suspension. If you put suspension, we're all okay. The rest of the vehicle, the whole structural integrity of the vehicle, the bearings, the tyres, the wheels, everything else there, the chassis, it can handle extra, but you needed this heavy suspension. Does it make sense? Because if you're not going off-road and you don't need the extra clearance, I'd suggest that if you set up your caravan properly, that you haven't got a stupid amount of load on the tow balls, the best thing you can do, right? Set it up correctly, because raising the vehicle isn't going to make it safer. What will make it safer? Okay, you want a bit more? Give you a little bit more before we go. What will make it safer is if you put heavy duty springs in there, yes, because of course firmer springs, they will control the body roll a bit more. So that dog has got a bit more control over the tail, if you know what I mean. Trying to just, bad examples maybe, but the tow vehicle needs to be able to control. So personally, I always suggest not towing more than 2/3 of the tow vehicle. So if the tow vehicle's 3 ton, stick to about 2 ton. You're pretty safe. You can keep it under control. If your tow vehicle's 2 ton, don't tow 3 ton. These utes that weigh 2.5 ton and whatever, and they can tow 3 ton, not a good idea. I've seen them in action. I've seen the caravan. I've seen the dog, the tail wagging the dog. I've seen it happen, and we know how that all results. If you're not going off-road and you don't need the clearance, I suggest what you do is get a heavy-duty spring kit. I'm not sure where you get it from. You may upgrade your shocks and struts, because that will make it safer, because tighter valving, less body roll, more control, again, depending on the circumstances. It's not for comfort, it's for safety. You need to keep the vehicle under control. So you could get suspension to suit the vehicle, but raising it isn't going to help the situation. And adding suspension, in my opinion, if I was an engineer, an automotive engineer, I wouldn't be putting GVM upgrade tickets on and putting my name to a GVM upgrade for any vehicle that are billion-dollar companies have been designed and told you what the limit is. No way I'm going to put my name to it, because if something serious really did happen and a number of people were killed and they did do an investigation, I don't think that your little label would hold up, and the person that gave it to you could end up being in a bit of trouble too. Yes, that's the way it's headed. Anyway, guys, think about it. Travel light, stay safe, less mods, quality gear, less of it, quality installations, drive safely, tow less, get smaller caravans, learn how to drive, learn what's going to happen if you don't concentrate on where you're driving. You do a quick correction on the steering wheel, what's going to happen. Understand what's going to happen if you haven't got enough weight on the tow ball. Understand what's going to happen if you've got too much, because you might find yourself with your front wheels just about in the air at some stage, and without the weight on the front of the vehicle, you might end up having no steering as well. There's so many things that can go wrong. Hopefully the time that I spent now, what's this, 25, 30 minutes I spent now, is at least helps someone. If it helps someone or 10 people, the more it helps, the better. So please like, subscribe, turn the bell on, all that stuff, so that we can share the information and help more people. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch up.